So now we get into fun computing. Not that this all hasn't been fun. We get into GUI computing. And GUI is not your kids who are playing with eating strawberry jam-filled donuts and playing with your keyboard. It's not that kind of GUI. It is GUI, G-U-I. That stands for Graphical User Interface. That's where computers get really fun and really interesting, and programming gets a little bit more challenging. But we've been preparing for this the whole way through. By getting into functions, by getting into object-oriented programming, it allows us to do GUI, which is also referred to as event-driven programming. So think about where we started. Now, original computer programs back in the days of COBOL were done where you did a lot of batch processing. You'd put in employee hours, you'd spit out checks. You'd do things in batches where you were doing a lot of file reading and outputting, and that's where programming originated. Now think of the programs that we use today. Word, Google, all of our graphical programs, they need to react to user input. So they're event-driven. And it's not using the typed in things that we've been doing so far. There is some of that. This changes how we program. And with a GUI interface, it allows you to use your mouse, which we really haven't been doing so far. And it's preparing us to move into the next step where we'll be able to do touch-based applications in classes following this, where you learn iPhone programming or web programming or Android programming. GUI is just really user-friendly, and it's important, and it's historically interesting. So there's a story that's pretty well validated about how the GUI interface really came to all of the computers. Steve Jobs, working at Apple, went to visit Xerox, which was the first place that he'd seen them using a GUI interface. Took that concept, brought it to the Apple computer, which is really what gave Apple a leap ahead over Windows computers. They weren't even Windows at the time, they were DOS over PCs, is that graphical user interface. It was one of the things that has transformed computing. And there have been a few major events that have transformed computing. GUI interface and the mouse, they get computers into people's homes because they suddenly become significantly easier to use than being command line driven. The internet. The internet is one of the major reasons a lot of people got computers, especially when it went GUI, which was done through University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana with Mosaic, which was the first web browser that wasn't command line driven. Getting that ease of use built in really pushes technology forward. The last really major transformation in how we use computers was smartphones, and they've continued to evolve, but it's changed everything from the type of programs that we're using. We're using apps for everything. It's changed how we do web design. And to do all of that stuff, you need to be able to do GUI and event-driven programming. So put your seatbelts on. We're going to start programming.